all of the children in each of the daycare rooms were facing the wall. Some of them were crying, all of the children, unless they were too small to stand at a wall. Let me explain. So many of y'all remember that I mentioned in my senior daycare video that I had a very questionable, upsetting visit at a daycare during a mystery shop. I'm not going to name the location. I'm not going to name the name. I'm not even going to name the area because I can't. But I think this needs to be said, and I hope this encourages people to do more research and investigate their daycares or wherever they take their children from here on out. Even if in the beginning it seems like a wonderful place, do some checkups every once in a while. And here is what I experienced. Okay, so I had to call this daycare a couple days prior to doing my tour of the daycare. We made an appointment for me to come around 10:30 in the morning. And of course, I arrived on time. I actually arrived exactly at 10:30. I went to the door. I walked into the lobby because, of course, there's another secure door. I like that. That was the same way as the senior center, which was a block away. Anyway, I went to the receptionist window. I introduced myself. I told them that I was there for a scheduled tour and my name, and they asked for my ID like they were supposed to. But then they said, "Oh, today is not a good day." And I'm thinking to myself, why would today not be a good day? Why would any day be a bad day to do a tour of this daycare? Like, huge red flag, okay? And of course, I lied to the receptionist because that's what mystery shoppers have to do. And I said, well, I scheduled this for this day and at this time because I had to take off work. I don't know when I'm going to be able to take off work again to get a tour of this facility. So I don't understand why it would be a bad day, you know? And the receptionist really didn't want to say anything else. But she asked me to wait a minute and she was going to go talk to someone else. She walked away. Maybe less than 5 minutes passed and she comes back and she said, well, it's not a good day, but we're going to work with you anyway. And I'm like, okay, this is really weird. Why isn't it a good day? I'm like, something just doesn't feel right. And I'm pretty nervous about what I might be seeing or what might be being covered up as we speak. All right. So they take me through the locked door. And we're immediately in the, I guess you call it like a big day room. And I saw no children. I'm like, okay, you know, I saw a hallway to my left with doors. There were 4 doors on the right side of the hallway. There were 5 doors on the left side of the hallway. And she's showing me around the day room. There's a big screen TV. There's toys, you know, clean. It was clean, but there was toys. And you could tell that that is where the children hung out most of the time. She showed me the outside where the playground was. It was really nice. All of the equipment looked somewhat new and safe. Everything looked appropriate. Well, then she was like, is there anything else you would like to see? And I said, the children. Where are the children? And she's like, oh, yeah. And she's like making these faces like, yeah. We'll go walk to the classrooms. And I'm like, okay, because that's where I saw the doors. We're walking down the hall. And as we're walking down the hall, she is no longer next to me. She is in front of me. And instead of walking in front of me with her back turned to me, she is walking in front of me face to face. She is walking backwards and she is talking to me. And it was very obvious she was trying to keep my attention on her and not look into the windows of each of the classrooms, because every time I turned my head, she would say something to grab my attention very quickly back to her. Well, as we're walking down this hallway and I'm peeping through just a second at a time, you know, I can see that there are children in these rooms, but they're all facing the wall like they're in timeout. I heard and saw some of them crying, like a soft cry, like they were scared to cry too much. It did not look good. The feeling I got was not good, at all. And we got all the way to the last rooms, and that's where the very small children and babies were, and of course they were not facing the wall. But any child that was able to stand and face a wall was facing the wall. And I asked her, I said, why are all the children facing the wall? Why is everyone seeming to be in timeout? Like, I wanted to ask her, was there like a prison riot or something? Like, this just seemed really inappropriate. And she was like, well, I told you it was a bad day. It just did not make sense to me, and she would not give me any other details, and it just felt really off. Now, I had to ask myself, I'm like, am I overthinking this? Because I was abused when I was in daycare. I was abused emotionally and physically, but there were actually children in my daycare that the owner of the daycare's husband went further with. And I can't go too much into that, but you get the idea. So I immediately went back to when I was like 9 and 10 years old, and I remembered, the horrific time that I had at daycare, and it took my mom over a year to figure out that I was being abused along with other children at this daycare. So I'm like, okay, is my PTSD kicking in? Am I trying to find a problem when there is no problem? And my instinct said no, something is very wrong. One, at the very beginning, they didn't want me to have that tour because it was a bad day. It should never be a bad day for someone to take a tour of a daycare, So that is my experience, and that's why it's taken me a couple days to process that. I had to write a very detailed report on what I saw. Unfortunately, this was not a video mystery shop, but they do have cameras in that facility, so I feel better about that. I've been back and forth with the mystery shopping company just a couple of times to clarify my statements and what I saw. But if you are a parent, if you are a grandparent, if you are a guardian, and you have children in a daycare or any kind of facility, even a school, just make sure that you know everything that's going on. And if your kid comes home and tries to tell you something, just listen. I know kids are kids. Kids can exaggerate. Kids can get details wrong. But just listen and then do your own investigation, So anyway, I'm a little shaky even telling this experience because it just felt so yucky. Something was wrong. Just another quick example that I'll go into more detail later is one of the members in my program during our coaching call on Tuesday night shared a pretty rough experience she had at a very high-end restaurant, and her friend that was meeting her at this restaurant for the mystery shop was discriminated against and treated poorly because she happened to be African American. And I'll be actually sharing that story later along with the clip of her talking about it during our coaching call. So these are just examples of why I believe mystery shopping is so important. And if things like this are important to you and you want to get involved in this and you want to make some money doing it, either as a side gig or a full-time job even, like several of my members, we would love for you to join our community and help us make all establishments just a little bit better. But anyway, if you are interested, please stay and listen to this offer, and I will see y'all tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for TikTok Live. Right now, for a limited amount of time, you can grab our membership for $47 off. That would make it only $49.99 a month to be in my training and community. But you have to act very quickly because we are not keeping this very long, and it will jump back up to $97 a month very soon. Let's do some quick math to break this down. $49.99 times 12, because that would be a year, equals to $599.88. That is totally worth it to learn a new side hustle you can use for life. and have freedom again. Compare that to $97 times 12, which would be a year, which totals up to be $1,164. So by joining right now, you could save over $564 for the whole year. That's almost 50% off. You'll get tons of insider tips, my full list of all the legitimate mystery shopping companies, not just in the United States, but Canada and the United Kingdom. And we're growing, and sooner than later, all around the world. Training videos, coaching, and community support. It is so worth it, but you have to hurry. This deal will not last long. I hope to see you soon at KaylaLaughs.com.